for that, we go to NBC's Vaughn Hilliard, who's at the White House with an update on the escalating conflict between Israel and Iran. Vaughn, where do things stand? What are we learning right now?
Alex, we were just learning here this afternoon from a U.S. official that Israel had approached the United States, the president, about a potential plan to assassinate the supreme leader of Iran, Ayatollah Khamenei. This would have amounted to a regime change in Iran if Israel and the U.S. had agreed to move forward with such a military effort as this in these last days. Of course, that sort of action has not been executed upon here at this time. But
well, thank God. I mean, could you imagine? I think that probably would have been the end of the Trump administration right then and there. I mean, if he would have given the okay to that and they gone through with that, another regime change war in the Middle East. That's how I still have, a very strong faith in what's going on right now. Right? I know the factions that are working against Trump and are trying to get him into another quagmire of a war. That has to be weighing heavy. You have to, guys have to understand, like, granted, Bannon, Tucker, all these people that are in the space of like thinking, and they're very pro MAGA and they're very pro America. They have Trump's ear, obviously. But let's not be stupid, right? Let's not think that on the other side of that, the other side of that coin, are people that have the illusion. Right, that have the idea that they are, they also have Trump's ear. Maybe not as much, maybe in a different capacity, but they definitely have Trump's ear. What are they telling him? And they're smart people. These are not dumb people that are pushing the agenda of let's go to war with Iran.
This comes 3 days now after those initial airstrikes were launched in a surprise attack on Iran. And since there have been retaliatory airstrikes going between the two countries here, well, for President Trump on his part here just a few hours ago in a social media post, he suggested that he still believes that there could be a, quote, deal between Israel and Iran to bring an end to this war. At the same time, this White House has indicated repeatedly that they are in the position where they have made a case to Iran that they must halt all uranium enrichment and stop all efforts to build nuclear bomb capabilities. I want to let you listen to Bibi Netanyahu, the Israeli prime minister, in his first interview on Fox since those initial airstrikes 3 nights ago, in which he was very specific in talking about the U.S.'s cooperation with Israel and why he decided to proceed with this attack before, if folks will recall, today was supposed to be the 6th round of talks between the U.S. and Iran on a potential nuclear agreement, but the Israelis went forward with their airstrike early nonetheless. Take a listen.
I think we achieved a great surprise the other day when we started. We could wait and wait and wait. They'd string along the negotiations.
They were probably close to a deal, which is probably why this happened. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that. Like, when you start to take a step back and look at these things and analyze them, right? MSNBC reporting the fact that the Trump administration was working with Iran and were probably at the crux of making a deal. They were at the intersection. It's no surprise that just as that was about to happen, that Israel strikes and basically, shits the bed on any notion of there being a possible deal in the works. That cannot be a coincidence. That's not a coincidence. I guarantee you they were probably in the process of making a deal. They're probably close to a deal. And then once the deal is made, now there's no need to do this. Right? Let's say, for example, and think about it, right? That's when you have to start reasoning and use this logical thinking. If the United States made a nuclear deal with Iran, right? And Iran was agreeing to halt on nuclear production or whatever, you would have people going there and monitor and stuff like that. Then what would be the need to attack their nuclear facilities if they were going to allow us to go in there? Now, if you're gonna turn around and say, well, they're just gonna be lying, just appeasing the U.S. to go ahead and do it, then nothing matters at that point. Then why are we even talking? Just let it all go to hell. And at that point, I tell the U.S. just get out, just knock it off. We're not in the business no longer of dealing with Iran or Israel, right? Because if it doesn't matter, then it doesn't matter. If it does matter, if the U.S. negotiating this and actually making something happen and moving the needle as far as like making a deal in Iran, then this didn't need to happen. This happened in order to stop that from happening.
Gave them a chance. I gave them a chance, but it was clear they were not serious about it. It became clear, I think, to the United States as well, because the president was very clear. He said, you can't have nuclear weapons. And in order not to have nuclear weapons, you can't enrich uranium. And they basically strung everybody along, and it was clear to us it was going nowhere.
Alex, it's a serious question now, the extent to which the U.S. will militarily involve itself with Israel's future military plans. Of course, in the same interview, the prime minister suggested that this war would continue on Iran until they end all uranium enrichment. And yet clearly Iran has not agreed to move forward with any such plan to halt those efforts there. And for the U.S.'s part, they at least presently continue to defend Israeli airspace with the U.S. military using pilots to shoot down drones. So there's a lot of big questions ahead here for this White House, but one that U.S. official tells us that they pushed back against a plan to take down the Ayatollah and kill Iran's supreme leader.
Absolutely. So clearly no cessation of activities expected anytime soon. Very quickly, G7, the president heads to Canada for that meeting. What are the expectations there in terms of the top issue they'll be talking about?
Right, the president is leaving just 3-4 hours from now or so to head up to Canada. We should note that it's not just the G7 leaders.
If you guys can like the video, share, subscribe. It does a lot to help a small channel like this. Really appreciate it.
That will be there, but other global leaders, including the Ukrainian President Zelensky, have been invited to attend these talks as well. This is, of course, the president's first trip since his economic coercion campaign to try to force Canada into becoming the 51st state of the United States. So, of course, that will be on the table, and undoubtedly, what is unfolding in the Middle East will also be of paramount concern to European allies, especially here, as the U.S. has really kind of made its posture of going it alone in so many regards in terms of negotiations on these various conflicts overseas. The question here is to what extent do they turn to some of these other allies and leaders to help put pressure on Russia, for example, to try to bring some of these.
I mean, at this point, it just seems to me that that a lot of people realized, or the globalists, or whoever it is you want to say, realized that handling Trump on the American front is going to be a very difficult task. So it seems to me that they are using means, as lack of a better term, to stifle the presidency and to push him back into a corner that is very difficult for him to combat against. There's really not much you can do if two countries are at war with each other. You know, he can try to make a deal, he can try to do sanctions, he can try to go the economic route, but I don't think it's a coincidence. I don't think it's a coincidence that on the domestic front everything's going really well, and but it just so happens that all of these things, started, burning down to the ground as soon as he walked into the office. I don't know. This is going to finish out right here.
Wars are to an end.
Yeah. So, it's like I said, I go back to the point where it's just very, very interesting that as they were having talks, that Israel decided to, go thermonuclear on Iran. For you to say that's a coincidence is it doesn't pass the smell test at the very least. Guys, hope you enjoyed the video. Please give me a like, give me a share, give me a subscribe. If you throw a comment down, I will respond to you. If you have a question or a comment or a concern, let's talk about it. We'll figure it out down below. Guys, thanks a lot for coming out. See you again in the next video. Thanks a lot.